Hello, my name is Caleb Cousins, and this is the Coaching Compass, a show where I interview top performance coaches from sport and esports about how they have built sustainable, successful careers in high performance. In today's episode, I interview Luka Skrinjaric, a performance coach in sport and esports, and we talk about the sacrifices that families have to make to facilitate high performance. We talk about how he got started as a sports psychologist in Croatia almost 15 years ago, as well as how he made the switch from sport over to esports, where he's now the performance coach for G2 Counter-Strike. We'll see you inside. Good evening, Luka. How are you doing?
Hello. Fine. Good. A bit tired, to be honest. It was a hectic day, but I'm good.
It's good to hear. As we get started, would you mind just giving the listeners a little bit of your background and who you are?
Okay. So basically, my name is Luka Skrinjaric. Surname is a bit tough to pronounce to English-speaking followers. I'm a sports psychologist. I'm from Croatia, Zagreb, Croatia, from the capital, and I have my own company. 2 employees in my company. They're both female psychologists, sports psychologists. So what we do is we make a living in mental preparation of athletes, coaches. Of course, we work with teenage athletes as well. So that also considers working with their parents. So basically, that's it. I have a vast experience in traditional sports, and since 2019, I've entered into esport as well. So I've been in esport for the past 6-7 years, and in traditional sports, I've been for the past, let's say, 16 years, something like that. And my last job is in G2 Esports, and I work with Counter-Strike roster for the past 2.5 years, something like that, 2.5, 3 years maybe.
Cool. Thanks.
And I'm a father of 3 kids.
The most important job of all.
Yeah.
Very nice. Your hands are full. There's a lot I want to cover here today because I think you've got a lot of experience that a lot of performance coaches will resonate with, but also be interested in hearing about. But I'd like to start somewhere. You call yourself, at least on your LinkedIn profile, a mental trainer. And this is something that I'm very curious about because there's so many names for it now, right? You've got sports psychologist, sure. You've got mental trainer, you've got certified mental performance coach. There's so many different names, and I suppose I'd be curious as to the origins of why you call yourself a mental trainer versus sports psychologist or anything else.
First of all, a little disclaimer. My LinkedIn profile is outdated and it is on the 57th place on my to-do list. So
Fair
it's
enough.
pretty down.
Okay.
But it is definitely outdated. But there is a story behind that, because when I did my LinkedIn profile, and I haven't updated it for a while now, it was back maybe in, I don't know, 2010, 11, maybe 12, let's say. Okay. And the thing is, this is the time when I started working in sports psychology. I think that back then I was maybe finishing my college degree in psychology, and I noticed that in Croatia, at least, that there is like a stigma of going to a psychologist, and people were kind of reluctant to go and work with a psychologist. But if you called yourself, I'm just a mental trainer, working with the athletes or something like that, in Croatian language, it sounds a bit better, different. So that was the reason why I called my company Mentalny Training, which when you translate it into English, it's mental training.
Hmm.
And I guess this was why I posted like mental trainer for athletes or something like that. But definitely my education is psychology, and
Yes.
after psychology here in Croatia, it's maybe a bit different than in the West. After psychology, which is like broad psychology or something like that, and then I went for specializations in sports psychology, and I did also some other degrees and some other educations like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, NLP, etc. So yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. And I can't imagine that 15 years ago when you started out, or 16, um, that just the change to mental trainer, I mean,
Mm.
mental training and psychology was not in vogue and high performance at that
Hmm.
point. And so I can't
Hmm.
imagine that that solved all of your challenges in terms of trying to convince athletes. How
Yeah.
was it trying to, I guess, get into the scene and convince athletes and teams and others to utilize your services?
Yeah, I have a funny story. Maybe I can share that.
Yeah.
Like 15 years ago, so it was my start, and I had a meeting. I had like a coffee drink with one football agent, and he's representing football players, etc. And he had one football player that I wanted to start working with. And
Mm,
the thing is that he wanted to start working with a sports psychologist, right? And then I had a meeting with this guy, and in the end, I kind of convinced him that it is good for he as the athlete to start working with me. And then he told me at the end, he told me, "Okay, Luka, you're gonna start working with him, but," and it was like just like this words, he said, "God forbid if anyone knows that you are working with my athlete." And I was like, "Yeah, of course, ethics, we're not giving any names, etc., not in public, and all." But I was curious, and then I asked him, "Okay, but can you maybe share why is this very important for
mm,
you to keep in secret?" And he said, "Well, my athlete now, my football player is now worth 1 million. And if I want to sell him, let's say to Russia, and I have some contacts that I want to sell him in Russia, if people in Russia know that he's working with the sports psychologist, then he will be worth 500,000. And I
mm.
don't want to lose my money.
Yes. Yes.
And I was like, yeah, sure, okay, no
Fair
problem.
enough. Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, that was the stigma, I would say 15, 16 years ago. Now I would say things are much, much better. And
Hmm.
athletes, even football agents, coaches, are much more prone to going and finding, uh, yeah, our
Yeah.
services.
Yeah.
Yeah. But has been a long way to come to that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
would say.
certainly. It's
Yeah.
much more prevalent and I think accepted, even though I think there's still a ways to go before
Mm,
it gets the, I
mm.
think, importance that it maybe deserves in a lot of high performance environments.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You said you've been in esports now for 6 or 7 years, which means that you
Hmm.
joined right around the time that I joined the industry as well. What made you make the leap? I know it's a leap that many performance coaches have made over the last decade from sport over to esports.
Hmm.
But why you, and how
Hmm.
has that experience been? Would you recommend it to
Hmm.
others? Yeah, just
Hmm.
curious.
Uh, Again, it's a nice story. I would say I was in Trieste, Italy, and I was on a sports psychology conference with one of this organization. It's called ENISP, European Network of Young Specialists in Sports Psychology.
Okay.
And Ismail Pedraza, Isma, he gave a speech, and he was presenting how he was working in, back then it was Rogue or something like that, Misfits Rogue. And he was saying, he was just presenting his work, what he is doing, what is esports, how big is the field, what can you contribute as a sports psychologist, etc. And Sanya, my colleague that works in my company, was there with me, and I told her, I didn't really know how big esport is. And when we come back to Zagreb, give me a list of some organizations or whatever there is happening in the scene on the scene in
Mm-hmm.
Balkans. And she only came with like a couple of numbers. Then I sat with one guy, and he told me, "Yo, listen, but I'm doing like business to business events. I organize events in Counter Strike or something like that, but between like two businesses, two IT companies or something like that, and it's not something that I search for. But I have a guy that is." Pretty crazy, I have to warn you, and his organization is named Crazy, and maybe he's looking for a guy like you. And he texted him during our coffee, and the guy replies instantly, "Yes, I need a guy." And yeah, that guy was CEO of Crazy organization called Crazy, and back then it was a roster of Hunter that is currently in G2. Then there was Nexa, there was Letni, Emi as the head coach, Esperanto, and one Finnish guy, Otto. And yeah, the guy, the owner of the club of the organization, called me. He said, "Yeah, listen, I would like you to come to the boot camp place, to be there for a couple of days to see how it goes. If it goes good, then we'll talk, right?" And I
Mm-hmm.
went to Kingwin in Poland. They were boot camping there. It was pretty good. The boys liked what we were doing, and I stayed there for 10 days. And then the boys said, "Okay, we want this guy to travel with us on the major." It was 2019, so it was Berlin major. And yeah, I think that we've done a pretty good result there, so I just stayed. What kind of pushed me? It pushed me that I wanted to see how different it is between traditional sport and esport. And yeah, I wanted to see, if I can fit here, and if this is something that is interesting me.
Mm.
So yeah, I clicked. Fortunately, we also made a good result, and it seemed to me that I can transfer a lot of my knowledge from traditional sports to esport.
Mm.
So, and working in a team environment was something that I wasn't that much familiar with till then, not even in traditional sport. So yeah, it was really something new, something exciting for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
What would you attribute back then? You said that like you basically had a trial period and then they kept you on afterwards.
Yeah.
Why did they keep you on? What do you think about you or about what you delivered in that during that tournament made them go, okay, we wanna keep Luka around?
I would say, like, when this CEO sent me, he said, "You're gonna be my eyes and ears. You're gonna tell me
Mm,
everything. In a couple of days, you're gonna tell me what is wrong, who is not good, who is not behaving, stuff like that." And I was like,
yeah.
"Yeah, yeah, okay, okay, we'll see about that." And then I came, and first thing that I told them on a meeting, "Listen, guys, I'm not a spy here. I'm not gonna say shit about anything what
Yeah.
is going on here. If you want to work, I believe I can help you. If you believe I can help you, then you need to help me, because I don't know anything about esport.
Mm,
I know the basics, right? But you're gonna have to teach me a lot. But I know that I can help you if you allow me to help you. So this is a process that goes two ways, right?" And I think that they liked my honesty. They liked the things that we were doing, and it was kind of no bullshit talk. I'm here to help. I want to work. If you want to work, great. Let's do
yeah.
things together, right? And I think that we clicked. In a couple of days, they saw that the things that we are doing are making a difference, right? And sometimes the difference can be 2, 3, 5%, right? But on a top level, it can really be substantial, right? So in the end, I think it was just that. Just the basics. I would
Yep.
say honesty, relationship. They were eager to make a breakthrough. They were in a smaller org, first time on a major for all of them. So yeah, their motivation was high. My motivation was high as well. So I would say that kind of clicked in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that complicated. You keep those simple kind of human aspects and build that
Mm-hmm.
connection and you can have an impact.
Yeah, building connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you said it right. Yeah.
So over the last 15 years, you've built a business, you've worked in
Hmm.
traditional sports, you've worked in esports, you've built different products. How have you managed all those different things? And whether that be time management or making sure that
Hmm.
one doesn't um, come at the cost of another one, how have you balanced all these
Hmm.
competing priorities and revenue streams for yourself?
Hmm. Yeah, I never wanted to kind of leave esports, although
Mm,
I had offers to do so, to only work in esport. But I like both, I like both sides, and I don't consider myself sitting on two chairs.
mhm,
I don't. I don't look at it like that, but I like the challenge in working in a traditional sports, especially some sports that I worked a lot, like let's say football, and I like this part as well. I like to travel sometimes with my football players. I like to watch their practices. I like to go to matches, to tournaments with them as well. So I do not want to give that up. And but I also love esports. I love those kind of competitions. I love working in a team environment, right? Because when I work in traditional sport, it's mostly like 99% of the time it's like one on one, right?
mm,
And I just like both worlds, so I don't want to just go one direction or the second one. uh, Regarding the time, sometimes it can be pretty hard. Maybe not just for me, but mostly for my wife, I would say.
mm,
I said that I'm a father of three, and it is tough. It is definitely tough for her because I haven't even counted the days in 2025 that I was away. But in 2024, I remember the exact number, and it was something around 156 days
mm.
off, outside of Zagreb, outside of Croatia. So that counts like maybe 5 months or something like that. And of
Yeah.
course, it's usually never longer than like 10 days to 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. But in 2024, we were also for a month in China. It was Shanghai Major, so we were there for a month. It's a long period of time. But yeah, just to come back to the topic, I think it is kind of demanding to travel a lot, and then you have to have the base really really strong.
Hmm.
My base is definitely my wife, my family, my kids as well. And if you have that strong, if that is solid, then it's much easier. Balancing in between traditional athletes and my clients from traditional sports and esport, it is sometimes tough. Sometimes
Mm,
also because of the time difference. I mostly work online since all of my traditional athletes are somewhere outside of my hometown and mostly outside of Croatia as well. So it's mostly online work, which is kind of easier. I can do it from whenever, from wherever in the world. But sometimes it's also challenging, switching all that time zones. And sometimes I'm somewhere in the world. It's 2 a.m. and I need to have a one-on-one session with one of my football players that is, let's say, in Spain or something like that.
hmm.
So it can be tough, but what I also kind of always wished for is that it's not only me working in my company, because then whatever business comes in your company, you have to kind of take it, right? Or you're
Yes.
just gonna say, I can't do it, right, because of the time
Yep.
and everything. But since I have two employees, then I can transfer a lot of this work to them. And yeah, I can choose with how many clients I wish to work, and not only how much I wish, but how much I am capable of working, either in traditional or esports. And the last thing that I can say is definitely that G2 provides me a certain liberty. So I am not traveling every event with them, but I only travel. I travel all the boot camps, which sometimes can be 3, 4 times in a calendar year. I travel every major. I travel every bigger tournament like Cologne, Kato. I don't know, EWC, some of those tournaments, and two,
Hmm.
three more, let's say. So all in all combines, it comes to a big number of tournaments. But if I would have to travel every tournament, that would mean that I cannot really do other work related stuff, you know. So.
Right. when when negotiating with a big organization like G2
Hmm.
and trying to convince them to fit within your lifestyle and the different things you want to do, how do you approach that kind of a conversation? How do you get to sit down with the CEO or whoever and go,
Hmm.
okay, this is what I want, this is what I need, and how does that work?
Hmm. I mean, before working in G2, I was working in Navi in Valorant roster, and yeah, after that, Isma again called me. Oh, my camera is blurry. It's
It's okay.
gonna be better, I hope, in a couple of seconds. Then he called me and he said, "Yeah, I saw that you're not working with Navi anymore, and would you like to work in G2?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. You know, is it CS? Yeah." And I was again pretty straightforward. You know, one of the things that I also told them is I cannot travel 300 days a year. You know,
Hmm.
it's not just because of traditional sport that I still want to work with, but it's also because of my family. I just cannot do that, and I do not want to. You know, if you're looking for a guy that will travel every tournament with you, then it's not me, and good luck. You know.
Yes.
So that was one thing. The second thing regarding the payment, I mean, I would say that I of course try to search on the market how much, you know, people in similar teams could get, or at
Yep.
least some price range or something like that. So it was about that. We of course had some bonus structure, but we had also some trial period, you know, for a couple of months, and then certain KPIs that had to be unlocked for the pay, for the basic pay to go up, etc. You know.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that was maybe the start, at least when negotiating with G2. Later on, I also acquired an agent that is now representing me, which
Mm.
I think is also a good thing to do, at least maybe for some. I know that not all sports psychologists or performance coaches have agents, but I don't know. I just considered it as a good idea, to have a person that has a bigger knowledge in the ecosystem, and to know how much you can get, or what kinds of bonuses, bonus structures, or something like that, and also kind of to have the support in negotiations, and maybe finding, you know, new jobs, new offers, or maybe something that you can do aside from that, like giving some lectures or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, this was maybe something latest that I have done, but for the first like maybe 5 years or something, it was me negotiating and trying to
Yeah.
find the best deal for myself that is also acceptable for the organization. Yeah.
You spoke about like doing research and seeing what people in other roles get paid and that kind of thing. One of the common questions I get from performance coaches is like, how do I price my services? How do I value myself? Like how how do I know when to charge $100 for a session or $200 for a session?
Hmm.
Um, how have you thought about valuing your services over the last 15 years? How has that, I
Hmm.
guess, evolved as you've gotten more
Hmm.
experienced, more
Yeah.
confident in what you can deliver?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it definitely changed. It has grown for sure. Uh, Not just by inflation or something like that, but I think that the standard in Croatia has
Mm,
evolved, and in Europe as well. But I have pretty similar structure, pretty simple structure. Um, what we do in traditional sports, we charge either by hour, or we charge like monthly fee. You know,
yep.
monthly fee is usually something that is chosen by professional athletes, and specifically by athletes that can pay substantially more for our services. And hourly rate is like 60 minutes per hour,
Hmm.
and that's it. You pretty simple, but regarding this monthly fee, I would say that this is a really good option for someone that needs our services. uh, Maybe not the best word is more, but that can get more from our services. I would say that when I have a monthly fee arrangement with some athlete, that means that I'm kind of available all the time.
Right.
That rarely means that someone will call you every day, and for a couple of hours. But usually those are maybe like two, three sessions per week. I try to follow their match. If not in real time, then I watch it later. I send them individual personalized programs, what they should do, what mental training drills that they should do weekly. I'm really open on to conversation either on WhatsApp or and wherever I am, like I already told you, in whichever part of the world I am, I know that I have the obligation to do the work with them as well.
Hmm.
So that kind of consists of this monthly fee where we are not counting every time that we spoke or how long we spoke or something like that,
Yes.
but everything is covered, and the athlete knows that he has the support really 24/7.
Yeah.
So but that is in traditional sport.
Yep.
And in
Yep.
esports, it's a bit different. It's yeah, usually you have base pay, um, or if only maybe you have base pay. Maybe if the org is a bit better or better positioned or something like that, then you can have a certain bonus structure.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
the the other piece, the other question that I get often is, especially from sports psychologists and mental performance coaches, is how do you measure impact? How
Mm,
how how can you how can you show that what you're doing is being successful to whether it's an individual athlete you're working with or whether it's G2? How do
mm,
you measure that you are being successful, so that then you can go to G2 and say, hey, this is what I've done. I'm
mm,
justifying kind of the investment you're making in me. Like, we are increasing performance because we're
mm,
linking this to this. How do you
mm.
think about that?
Yeah, I think it's always tough, either in esport or in traditional sport. It is tough to measure certain things that are sometimes very subjective, right?
Hmm.
And it's not like we have really good measurement for focus, for confidence, or something like that. Yes, we have questionnaires. Yes, we have tests, but it's all me value measuring myself, or how would I position myself, regarding that. So it's not many objective measures, something like that, and it is sometimes tough to for some CEO or head of that esport department to say, okay, but is this really your work, right? I would say that it gets more understandable if you work with not only with the players, but if you work with the coaches as well, right? Because coaches are the ones that are upfront, right? Coaches are the ones that are pretty much always with the athletes, right? They're on tournaments, they're on TeamSpeak, they're on LANs and online tournaments. They're there, right? So this influence, where you can give your knowledge to the coach and then the coach transfers that knowledge to the team, is somewhere where it can be seen, and then the coach also is kind of your advocate and sees,
Yes.
okay, this guy, this is his work, right? Also, I would say that sometimes it's like we cannot maybe measure it directly, but we can measure
Mm.
it through certain things, right? um, let me give you an example. Let's say in traditional sport, when an athlete in tennis is making double faults, right? And then he returns to the practice and he hits hundreds of aces, doesn't make one double fault or something like that. And then he thinks, okay, it must have been my motoric, comes back and then does a double fault again. But if he's really smart, then he knows, okay, it's something with the mental side. So maybe I'm going to do some routines, maybe I'm going to do some breathing, maybe I'm going to do some visualization, maybe I'm going to do things about my thought process, etc. And then if I fix something like that, then you can measure if it was successful through lowering my double faults, right? And
Yes.
it is something that is not maybe directly correlated, but through something you can see something else. I would
Yep.
say that it is pretty much the same in esports. There was this one event. The year was, I believe, 2024, and I don't know which event was. It was one blast tournament, and Nico, he hit the desk so hard that he broke the desk, right? And he really left a dent in the desk. I think it was a match versus Navi, and that year Navi was really kicking our ass, and they won us like 9 times or something like that.
Mm.
It was crazy. And this was the 10th match that we played versus Navi. We, I don't know, lost that round, or Nico made some mistake, something like that, and he smashed the desk so hard that it left the dent. And then afterwards, in the end, we won that match. It was really good. So nobody can beat G2 10 times in a row. And that was a funny meme. But then the casters asked him, okay, what happened? You smashed the desk, but afterwards, you came back. In the end, you won a match. And he said something in the words like, yeah, it was like too much emotion. I couldn't handle myself. I did something foolish, and I smashed the desk. Unfortunately, my hand is good, is solid. But the most important thing is that I came back afterwards. It took
Mm.
me maybe 2-3 rounds, but we have done a lot of work with me on how to control yourself, how to reset after mistakes, how to do some breathing, etc., to come back in the end. And I
Right.
would say that this then is the most important thing. Sometimes you really cannot control it, whether it's this tilting moment, smashing the desk or something like that. But how fast you come back, and how fast and how with what quality you reset, this is the most important thing. And yeah, these are certain or some examples
Yeah.
how you can show your impact. And not to mention all the things that you can do on group cohesion or on their communication. uh, yeah, I would say that at some point it just has to be visible, and it can't be ignored that you're doing good stuff.
Yeah. Basically, do good work, and it should just show itself
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
over time. Yeah.
Over time,
Yeah.
it has to. It's like energy. It
Yeah.
cannot disappear, it cannot evaporate, it just has to
Hmm.
transform into something else.
Yeah. Luca, a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up here. Obviously you said at the beginning of the call that you hadn't touched your LinkedIn for a
Yeah, for a
while. I
while.
know lots of performance coaches in
I
sport
should.
and esports, they spend a lot of time online and on
Hmm.
content creation and stuff. What role has content or your online presence played in your practice over the last 15
Hmm.
years, and any good
Hmm.
learnings or thoughts to
Mm.
share?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my LinkedIn is just terrible. Don't go to my LinkedIn. Rather follow me on Instagram or something like that, Twitter. Uh, I would say that it is helpful, definitely, because this gives us like a bigger microphone, right?
Mm,
And this gives us a microphone where we can speak more about topics that we know about a lot. And my Twitter is mostly esport related stuff, let's say, and this is the audience that I follow, and this is the audience that I would say follows me. I saw that when I publish something that is not esports related, like maybe some great achievement from traditional sports, it's like 20 likes or something. It was just people don't care, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Then Instagram, we use Instagram a lot. Before we used, when I say we, my company, my colleagues and I, before we used Facebook. Now Facebook is only for old people,
yeah,
as Young would say, you know. So let's say 35 and above, 40,
yeah.
50, etc. So it's more, let's say, for parents of young kids and young athletes. But
Yes.
Instagram, I would say, is maybe number one network that we use, and we try to do certain videos, do some infographics, and yeah, just talk about sports psychology and how
Hmm.
we can help. And I think that this is a good tool if you use it correct, because you
Yeah.
can show your work and you can show what you can do. You can show with who you're working with, and kind of to uh, erase that stigma or that myth that you're crazy if you're going to sports psychologist or something like that, you know.
Yes.
And yeah, I would say definitely, yeah, those kind of social networks helped in that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Final question for tonight.
I'm on a
Um,
roll now. I
yeah,
can go
that's
for
right.
hours now. It's good.
That's right.
Just shoot.
So, what would you say is the one thing that the industry and let's say high performance, whether that's esports or traditional sports, what do they still get wrong about the sports psychology field and the work that you do? What's something that you're still having to educate people on, and how do you do that?
Okay. Mm, Nothing better comes to my mind, but this maybe something will pop as well. I would say that sometimes it's hard to explain to orgs or CEOs or whoever is in charge that one person cannot do the job of 3 4 persons, let's say, you know. Because
Yes.
people are speaking about performance coaches as if you have to be a nutritionist, you have to be a strength and conditioning coach, you have to be a sports psychologist. It would be good if you could cook something as well, and if you can massage them for some time, right? And it's not like that, right? And I know that the educational system in Europe, or even maybe in the States, is a bit different. I know that in Europe, in some countries, you have like sports science, and then you get some knowledge from nutrition, from strength and conditioning, from sports psychology, etc. Right? So
Yep.
in the end, you have like a major or graduate as a sports science something, right? And then maybe you go to 1 or 2 years more for strength and conditioning coach or sports psychologist, something like that. In Croatia, it's just like you either go psychology or you go
Hmm.
strength and conditioning. You don't do both, right? So we don't have maybe that many areas in one college, but then again, I would say that we have like maybe stronger foundations in, let's say, sports psychology, if that is something that you have done. And then sometimes it is hard to explain. Okay, I know a lot, and I personally know a lot about strength and conditioning. I know considerate amount about nutrition, and I know a lot about sports psychology, but it's not like I can do all those 3 jobs. We need
Yes.
one more guy. Maybe we
Yes.
need a guy for a couple of months just to teach us something, right? Like a nutritionist that can show us and that can teach us how to make better food choices, better food habits, better eating habits, right? Then okay, let's maybe hire some other guy that will show us how to exercise, how to grow that habit, and then okay, I can be the guy in charge for delivering that, or for
Yes.
reminding them, or something like that, right? But it is hard if a person in charge of the org considers that one person can do everything, right?
Hmm.
And then you have to have in mind that it's not like League of Legends, where people are situated in one place, usually Berlin if it's Europe, and then you have everything under your control. In Counter Strike, we're all over the world, We are playing from home, from, I don't know, a couple of different, okay, Europe and let's say Israel now. But the thing is that we travel all around the Europe. I'm not there all the time. Managers are also changing in between, so it's not that easy to control the whole environment, what we're
Yes.
eating, when we go to sleep, do we exercise or not. So we need a bit more experts to help with all that.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the best
No.
thing that popped my mind.
Yeah, completely agree. That
Yeah,
specialization versus generalization, and the
yeah,
assumption that if you have a sports science background, you can do everything. It's just not
mm,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
At least that's my
No,
opinion, but
no one
yeah.
has that much time to go to school for like 20 years. You can't have a
Yeah,
degree in
yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's important to know different areas as well,
Yes.
and I
Yeah.
try to educate myself in that.
Mm.
But I consider that I have a good knowledge for myself and
Yeah.
to train myself to eat properly, healthy. But I don't consider myself an expert in nutrition, and even though I could answer maybe the first 3 or 4 questions about nutrition or supplements or something like that, but
Mm.
maybe if the topic unwinds to the fifth question, then I would be like, I don't know, I'm not sure, and
Yeah.
I don't wanna get that, I don't want to send that impression, in
Yes.
in psychology. You can't trick me. I will
Yeah.
have the answer, but in nutrition, people will at some point tell, yeah, but do you really even know this or not? So I would rather not go into that, but I would advocate to get the support
Yeah.
from a guy, girl that is really good at it.
Yeah. Okay, bonus question because you just triggered something for me. So you've again, you talked about 2024. I think you said you
Hmm.
traveled for like 160 days of the year,
Hmm.
and you've been in high performance now for 16 years. You've probably seen your fair share of burnout, whether that be in your athletes and the teams, in yourself, maybe at times.
Hmm.
How have you managed to have that longevity for yourself? You're traveling 160 days. How do you make sure that you don't go crazy and burn out? And what would
Yeah.
you recommend to a young performance coach who might be going into a Counter Strike team for the first time and they will be on the road for almost 200 days a year?
Mm,
What should they be focused on?
yeah. I mean, first of all, I think it's important to know your priorities.
Mm.
When I just started working in esport, and when I see that this is going to enroll into something bigger, I just sat down with my wife and I said, okay, listen, now back then we had, yeah, 2 kids, and but the second was pretty small, and yeah, we discussed and we said, okay, is this something where we are going? Not me, I'm going to travel, but you're going to stay at home. It's going to be tougher for you with 2 kids, right? And if we together are making this decision, then we
Mm.
have to know, okay, what does this mean, right? And we have to know why we are doing this decision, why we are making this decision, right? So I think that this is top priority, right? You have to have your priorities straight, right? If you want to travel 200 days a year, okay, good. You have to know why you're doing this. Are you doing it for the money? Are you doing it for the future money? Are you doing it for some bigger cause? Are you doing it for your education? Are you doing it for whatever? So that comes to motivation, right? Know your motivation, why you want this to happen.
Hmm.
Also, to know what are the adversities, right? A lot of things can happen, right? You can get sick, you can get burned out, your immune system can fall down. So there are a lot of things that you have to kind of think before you leap into this, right? uh, what kind of helps me is that, again, like I said, I cannot do uh, tournaments in and out, and then 2 3 days at home, and then again tournaments. So that was a no go for me. So that was like kind of my boundary as well. So that is for sure something that keeps me going. Sometimes it's not easy because although it is throughout the year, divided throughout the year, sometimes it combines. So I can be maybe 2.5 weeks on some boot camp, then we are home for 5 days, and I need to go to the first tournament, right? Like it was the beginning of the year. We did some testing in Red Bull, then we in Salzburg, then we went to Berlin, stayed there for boot camp, then maybe home for 5 days, and then we were flying for Krakow or something like that, right?
Right.
So it combines, right? What is kind of helping me to stay healthy during all that period? I would say that I try to eat healthy as possible. I'm not like all in and eating only lean or something like that. I like to treat myself as well, but
Hmm.
80%, maybe even 85, 90% of the time, I try to eat pretty good, you know. Second thing, I try to work out even when I'm on tournaments. When I'm at home, I work out 3 times a week, so it's not that much. I like to do workouts in the morning, so from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., and that's kind of the best way how I can start the day. After that comes kindergarten, school,
Yes.
breakfast, and everything else. You know, I try to sleep as good as possible or as much as possible. It's not easy always, but yeah, it is what it is. I at least try to, and definitely I would say that every time when I come back from a tournament or from boot camp, something like that, I try to switch off a bit, you know, and try to have full focus on my kids, on
Hmm.
my wife, on my friends, and to kind of unwind a bit, you know, so that I'm keeping myself sane. And I would say that my wife also learned that when I come back after maybe a bit longer trip, then in the next couple of days, 2, 3 days, I'm not going to be myself.
Right.
Um, I'm not communicating the way I'm usually communicating with her. I could be more quiet or something like that. I could be a little bit distant, but it's just like, you know, after 2, 3 weeks off, it just becomes a bit weird. You're now again with your wife and everything, but you have been doing something much differently. You know, you have been staying in your own room with your own thoughts, working with the athletes, going from up and down with your arousal level through the tournament and everything. It's kind of exhausting. So she learned that she needs to give me these 2, 3
Mm.
days, and that everything is okay, but that I just need to reset to my basics, you know.
Yeah. Those are all amazing answers and tips for anyone looking to live that high performance lifestyle because it doesn't happen by accident. You need to be intentional for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, Luca, I really appreciate you being here for this episode, and your answers have been great. So thank you so much for your time, and good luck for the rest of your season.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I hope it will be helpful for all the other colleagues that are in this area or looking to come into this area. And yeah, I hope to join you for this kind of call and podcast again. I believe that we have a lot of other topics as well to cover.
I think we do. We'll have you back for sure. Thanks, Luca.
Great, great. See you. Bye bye.